you've learned the foot for the most part. So the good news is the hand and the foot are pretty much the same thing, just some slight differences. Our hands and our feet are made up of 3 sets of bones. All right? So our hand, we have carpal bones, we have metacarpal bones, and we have phalanges. So in our hand, we have carpal bones, we have metacarpal bones, and we have phalanges. The phalanges are the bones of your individual fingers, thumb included. All right, I know some of you like to, but the thumb's not a finger. Yeah, it's a finger. It's just a thumb finger. Get over your hoity-toity self. Right? There are 14 phalanges, 3 in each of these 4, 2 in your thumb. Our metacarpal bones. These are the bones that make up our hand. So if you actually go into your hand and squeeze your hand from back to front, you will feel 5 long bones, each one moving towards one of your 5 digits. These 5 bones are known as the metacarpals, respectively. And then in our wrist, we have 8 little pebble bones, which are the carpal bones. You do not need to know the names of the carpal bones, which is a shame. Some great names in those. Triquetrum. Can't make that up, right? Scaphoid, lunate. There's some good names in there. And a good mnemonic. Scared lovers try positions that they cannot handle. Great mnemonic. So if you take Anatomy 1, and who here is taking Anatomy 1? No one's taking Anatomy 1? The hell? Y'all should be taking, well, if you, they make you learn them in Anatomy 1. But you don't have to learn them here. You just have to know that they are collectively your carpal bones. So as we take a look at our wrist, we have 8 bones. These 8 bones, all you need to know is they're your carpal bones. Do not memorize the names. They'll never ask you for an individual name in intro. As we move to the hand, all right, now we move away from the carpal bones towards the tips of our fingers. The next 5 bones, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Right, these 5 bones right in here. These 5 bones are collectively referred to as your metacarpal bones. But that's not enough. Right? You have to give me metacarpal and the number. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Your thumb is always digit 1. Index is digit 2. Middle is digit 3. Your ring finger is digit 4. And your pinky is digit 5. As such, if they were to come and point to this bone, the correct answer, the 2-point answer, would be metacarpal 2. Or 2 metacarpal. All right? You could be dyslexic and rearrange it. This is metacarpal 5. This one's metacarpal 1. In certain textbooks, they will use Roman numerals as opposed to the regular number. You can use either or. You should know your Roman numerals through 12 if you're going to be in anatomy and physiology. Well, then we never go past 12. So, this is metacarpal 1 because it goes to my thumb. Metacarpal 2 going towards my index finger. The middle is metacarpal 3. Metacarpal 4 going to ring, and metacarpal 5 going to the pinky. If somebody was to fracture, my son, my 13-year-old, he fractured this bone right here a couple of years ago. And what the x-ray reports showed was he had a distal fracture of metacarpal 5. So distal fracture of metacarpal 5. It told you exactly where the fracture was. That's what the report said word for word. Everybody good with metacarpals? Which brings us to our fingers. When you think of our fingers, we have a series of 14 bones. Again, 3 in each of these fingers and 2 in the thumb, right? Gives us 14 total. And there's 3 different varieties of phalanges. There's proximal, there's middle, and there's distal phalanges. Your distal phalanges are the phalanges that have a nail. So when you look at your own hand, find your nail or where your nail should be. If you're one of those that doesn't have a nail, I don't need to hear about it. Right? You should have 5 nails. Right? The bone underneath that phalange, the bone underneath that nail is your distal phalange. So your thumb has a distal phalange, and each of the other 4 fingers has a distal phalange too. It's the farthest phalange bone away from the wrist. On the contrary, every one of our digits has a proximal phalange. The proximal phalanges are the phalanges that articulate with the metacarpal bones. So here's a phalange that articulates with a carpal bone. This is a proximal phalange, as is this one, this one, this one, and this one. So we have 5 proximals and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 distal phalanges. And again, they are also named by the number digits. So this would be, for example, this is proximal phalange 1. Distal phalange 2, proximal phalange 4. So you got to give me the exact bone and the number digit it is. Which leaves us with 4 bones. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Each of these 4 fingers has a middle phalange, which is here. All right? These are your middle or intermediate phalanges. So the bone that I'm pointing to, what would be its official name? The 2-point correct answer name. Middle phalange. 2. My index finger is always 2. This is middle phalange 2. Does everybody get why? What's this one? Middle phalange 4. It's really that duck soup simple. And again, if you learn the hand, you've learned the foot. Just change carpal with tarsal and you're home clear. Any questions on labeling your hand? Good. That allows us to move down to the pelvis and get into the lower extremity. We'll do this bone, and then I'm going to let you label the hand and the pelvis, and then we'll go and we'll finish up femur and all the bones down to the foot. So when we think of our pelvic girdle, now we're talking about 2 bones, a right and a left. And these 2 bones ultimately come together in the front. They come together via the pubic symphysis. And in the back, these 2 bones attach to the sacrum. And they create what we refer to as our pelvic girdle. And the pelvic girdle ultimately allows for our hips to attach, which is what we see here. Here's the socket of our hip joint. And the pelvic girdle is ultimately made up of 2 pelvic bones, known as your coxabones. So here's one coxabone, here's another coxabone. When you look in your bone box, you should see half of a pelvis. All right, so your half of a pelvis is ultimately what you're going to label. And our half of a pelvis is ultimately separated into 3 parts: the ilium, the ischium, and the pubis. So as we take a look at the pelvic bone, and we look at your half, you can see the 3 parts of the pelvic bone as they are color-coded for you. Up on top with this normal bone color, this is our ilium. The portion that we sit on here in purple, this is the ischium. And the portion here in red would be our our pubis. as you look at your own coxa bone, which of course is not color coded. Excuse me. The top portion is your ilium. The portion in the back that you sit on, this is your ischium. So if you put your hand in your butt and find what you sit on your ischium. And then the part in the front, which ultimately is going to connect with our pubic symphysis, this is the pubis portion of that bone.
Professor?
Ma'am?
So would you say your ischium is what people call their tailbone?
No.
No?
The tailbone is the coccyx.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, your tailbone is the coccyx. This little bone here that we talked about on Thursday. Mm-hmm. No, but your ischium, like let's say someone's on a ladder and you're trying to push them further up and you push on their butt, you're pushing on their ischium.
Okay.
If you put your hand underneath your own tush and feel what part of your skeleton is hitting that seat, in your butt, it's the ischium. That's what you're using to sit down. There was a question over here.
What was it?
The coccyx.
Coccyx?
Mhm.
Would you say that the coccyx would be on the quiz?
On the axial part. I mean, it is an axial bone. So it's potentially going to be on the quiz. Now there's a bunch of parts of the pelvis you are responsible for. They always put a pelvis on the test. Alright? And then they usually ask 2 of the following parts of the coxa bone. First off, they can ask you, is this the ilium, the ischium, or the pubis? If they do that, they typically use this picture that's on the board right now. That way it's color coded. They can say the purple part of the bone is called the what? The red part of the bone is called the what? The non-colored part of the bone is what? They can actually ask you the part of the bone and there'll be extreme clarity as to what they're asking, right? Where if they put it here on the coxa bone, it's a little more ambiguous. But there are some components of this bone that you are definitely responsible for. So we want to make sure we know them. First off, as you look at your coxa bone from the side, there's a giant hole, right? This hole, which was asked last semester, this is called your obturator foramen. If you look on the right-hand column of words all the way on the bottom, obturator foramen. Ultimately, this helps to lighten the bone up a little bit. It also works as an alleyway for arteries, veins, and nerves to travel down into the leg. Right above the obturator foramen is the socket of our hip. This is ultimately where our femur is going to attach to our pelvis. This is known as the acetabulum. If you look on the right-hand column of words, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5th one down, acetabulum. So the socket for the hip is the acetabulum. As you look at the top of our coxa bone, what I'm rubbing my hand on, this is the iliac crest. Right-hand column, second word down, iliac crest. If you want to feel your own iliac crest, put your hands on your hips like your mom did when she was pissed at you. All right, that's your iliac crest. That was my mom at least. As we go to the left-hand column of words, going all the way down, there's a few of those you're responsible for. First off, this little alleyway my finger is in, they love to ask this one. This is your greater sciatic notch. So you got your greater sciatic notch.
So where's that?
Right where my finger is.
So it's like on your back.
Oh, where is this? Like on you?
Yeah.
You gotta go like, and really go deep. Yeah. You don't want to touch that. Because if you touch that, what you're ultimately going to do is compress your sciatic nerve. Try your hardest not to do that. Your sciatic nerve runs through that little notch. And it's making its way from the low back and the sacrum down into the buttock, and then that nerve runs down the back of the leg all the way to the knee. And then ultimately splits into 2. Oh yeah,
Yes,
that's
that-
greater sciatic notch. Below it is a little bump. Right? There's a little bump of bone right here. This little bump of bone is called the ischial spine. Left-hand column, 1, 2, 3, 4, fifth leader down is ischial spine. This is another one they asked last semester. Why is this bone so in depth? Well, this bone, if you notice, this bone and the scapula are the ones we were most in depth with. There's just a lot going on with those bones. They definitely ask a lot of questions on them. We had a lot on the scapula too. I make a living off of this bone. Oh yeah, I make a healthy living off of this bone. I love this bone. People coming in, their butts hurt, their low backs hurt. This bone is just as much a cause as any of the ones above it. Yep. No, I make a good living off of this bone. It plays a bigger role in this.
When you see it, like, they'll put like a sticky.
Yeah, they'll definitely put stickers.
Or like.
If they want to ask you ilium, ischium, pubis, this is the picture.
Okay.
Every other question, but it'll be the half bone like you have in your box. Don't say old people get sad. I had sciatica at 15. So, but sciatica occurs because the sciatic nerve gets pinched, which is a nerve that starts in the low back and pelvis and runs down the back of the leg. So sciatica is when you have running numbness and tingling or shooting pain into the leg due to the sciatic nerve being pinched. One of the causes, some of the causes occur because of the pelvis, some of them occur because of the spine. It just depends on how you got your unlucky variety of it. Sciatica sucks.
Couldn't you get that pain in your back though?
Can you do a what?
Couldn't you get that pain that's pain in your back though?
Well, sciatica is running numbness down the leg. It can be caused by a problem in the back.
Oh, okay.
Right. But sciatica isn't, pain in the back is not sciatica. That's like me saying a fever is when your temperature goes up. Sciatica is when you have numbness going down the leg. But a fever is a symptom of something. Sciatica is a symptom of something. You don't just catch sciatica. Something happens to pinch the nerve. That's the main problem. Sciatica is a symptom. The last thing you need to know for this particular bone is this part right here. This is called your ischial tuberosity. You look on the left-hand column, third up from the bottom, you see ischial tuberosity. So those are the ones you definitely want to label on your pelvic bones. Before I let you label, there is one other thing they love to do to you guys. Every once in a blue moon, they ask you, they'll bring in two pelvises, and they'll ask you which one of these is a female pelvis, or they'll say which one of these is a male pelvis. Now, the good news is you have a 50-50 choice, so if you literally don't know, you can at least guess. But you should never miss this question, because it's actually very, 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 very easy to see the difference between a male and female pelvis. What's going to be true about the female pelvis compared to the male pelvis? It's going to be wider, right? Women's pelvises are wider. So there's two areas where you can look to see where the wider pelvis is actually seen. One is the easy way and one is the hard way. I will show you both of them and then let you choose which one you choose to do when the test comes if they ask the question. The hard way is to look up here. All right? In theory, well, not in theory, in reality, the point, the space between these 2 points in a female pelvis is going to be wider than that of a male pelvis. That's always going to be true. The problem is that one's really subtle. And you can look at a male and female pelvis for a while and not really know. You're not going to have a tape measure with you. So it's hard to figure out which one's which. So the sure shot, easy, guaranteed, should never miss it. Ray Charles would get the answer, correct way to look to see which pelvis is male and which one's female is to look at something called the pubic arch, which is what we see here. And we see here. A male pelvis, their pubic arch, will have an angle less than 90 degrees. It looks like a teepee, kind of like what I'm showing you here. If you look at this angle, is this angle greater or lesser than 90 degrees? Lesser, by a long shot, right? Therefore, this one has to be male. Period, end of story. Doesn't matter what it looks like up here. Doesn't matter if it's bigger or smaller. Pubic arch will tell you the story 100% of the time. On the same token, and unfortunately, I think we have a class of nothing but men. Yeah. All of these pelvises are male pelvises. A female pelvis, the pubic arch will be like my hand. It'll be flatter, and the angle will be much bigger than 90 degrees. Every now and again, I would say 1 out of every 3 exams, what they have in the back are a male and female pelvis. And they set them out, one gets labeled A, one gets labeled B. And the question is simple. Which of the following 2 pelvises is a male pelvis? Which of the following pelvises is a female pelvis? And you put the letter that corresponds with whichever sex they choose. Never ever miss this one. All you got to do is look at the pubic arch. If the pubic arch is less than 90 degrees, kind of looks like a teepee, it's got to be a guy. Has to be. If that pelvic arch is flatter and broader, greater than 90 degrees, it has to be a woman. Period, end of story. All right. So label your hand and label your pelvis. And then we'll move on to the lower extremities.